Welcome back to another video. We are going to go over photo stacking in Photoshop today, and using long exposure photographs like this one, most commonly used for astrophotography, creates this cool effect. But you can use it for other things like traffic, like this, airplanes taking off at night out of the airport. I've done this a few times. It's kind of cool. A little bit tricky because you don't know how fast the planes are going, but so you kind of have to set your exposures and all that kind of stuff a little bit differently. But ultimately very rewarding as an end result, like this one here. I really like this image. I've added it to my portfolios of prints that I sell, and it does pretty well, so you can kind of do a lot with them. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go over a really basic edit of these photos to kind of make them the way they want as a finished product. But if you have a bunch of long exposure photos that you've already edited and you want to just get right into the photo stack portion of this tutorial, you can jump ahead to the 19-minute and 47-second point of the video, because that goes over the actual photo stacking part in Photoshop. But as of right now, I've just sort of imported all of the images that I shot this evening, and we'll kind of go over them and just sort of show you the process of selecting the ones that you want to do your photo stack or your edit with. So as you can see, these ones in the top row here are obviously not long exposure enough to sort of get the effect that I want, so I'm just going to deselect those in the import and import the ones that you want. So I've kind of narrowed it down here. Switch over to the Develop tab. Go through them here. Obviously there's nothing happening in this photo. This one was a little bit short. So if you jump up over here, you can see that it was only an 8-second exposure at f6.3. The light level's good, but obviously not long exposure enough for me to get the effect that I'm looking for. So we're going to have to make some changes. So the next image, this is better. I am getting that full light trail of the plane taking off, and this was a 30-second exposure, but as you can see at f6.3, it's a little bit too bright for my liking. I want to kind of let a little less light in, but I want that same 30-second exposure. This is getting better. 30-second exposure. This is f8. Still a little bit too bright for me. Next one, f9, better. So I'm getting the nice long light trail, even a car driving by, I'm getting that as well. So a 30-second exposure, and this is just a passenger jet taking off, so 30-second exposure is kind of a good benchmark, I guess, depending on where you are and which airport you're at. So I shot a series of these photos just kind of in sequence as planes were coming into land as well as taking off. Kept it all at f9.0, sorry, and 30-second exposures. So got to go through them and kind of go, I don't know what was happening with this one. I think there was a plane landing or something in this one, so I don't know if I'm going to keep that one. We'll see. Let's see the next one. This one was kind of cool. I think it was a smaller jet, but it was just sort of went straight up into the air, which is kind of cool. So the ones that I don't want, I'm just going to select. So I'm not going to do that one with the plane landing because it was kind of weird. Select the ones you want, and then just right click and remove photos. Make sure you remove them from Lightroom. Don't delete them from your disk in case you do want to use them in a future date. So then just kind of scroll through them, kind of go, yeah, these are kind of cool. I like them. We're going to edit one of them, and then we're going to apply those settings to the rest of the images so that everything is consistent throughout. So I don't really like that first one either. It's a little bit weird. Yeah, so we end up with 5 images that we're going to work with. That should make a pretty interesting stack. Select one of them. And then work on your edits from there. Like I said before in my other videos, I love the dehaze toggle in Lightroom or Photoshop Camera Raw. It's a really good addition to their suite of software, so I really dig it. We're not going to do too many crazy edits with this because, you know, it's a long exposure. Maybe just sort of increase the clarity a bit, maybe drop the highlights down a wee bit so that we get a little bit more definition to those lights. on there with them being not too overpowering. I am going to cool the image down a bit though, just to kind of, it was a pretty hazy evening that evening, I believe, from what I remember. I don't want to make it too crazy though, just to kind of add a little bit more cool temperature to the whole thing. I think once it's all done, it'll look kind of neat. Kind of cool down a bit. Zoom in. Yeah, we've got some cool light action happening. There's a couple of cars going around the bend there. Nice sort of light trails going up off into the sky, out of frame. I like these ones because the exposure was long enough for the image, or for the plane, to go completely out of frame, which adds a little bit of oomph, or more dynamic look to the image as a final product. Some really cool leading line type photography, if you want to call it that. I'm just going to continue to play around with these to kind of see what we get. Do I want more definition in the foreground now? I'm going to kind of keep it as dark as I can. That looks pretty good. Let me tweak that. Alright, so we're kind of done with that. So now you want to select all your other images. The one that's the brightest and has that little icon on the bottom right of the image, that's the one that you've edited, but you want to just go through them, select them, and all your images. Because we're going to apply the changes to all those. Hit the sync button. This should all be kind of default, all checked. I usually leave everything checked. We didn't do any spot removal, so don't bother with that one. Click synchronize, and it'll do its thing. Apply those changes to all the images, and you can kind of just click through them and make sure that all the changes got through. All the light levels are the same. All the color temperatures are the same. Everything looks good. Yeah, that turned out pretty well. Very, very simple. This little tab here, little Y tab, I call it, you can see sort of your before and afters. A couple of different modes that you can check through there just to kind of see what it looks like differently. Click on that. Yeah, you can kind of see this side. Yeah, much warmer in this image and a lot cooler in the one that we've edited. All right, sort of apply those changes. I mean, if you like your images warmer, you don't need to go through this process. Like I said, if you just want to jump ahead to the actual photo stacking portion of the tutorial, you can do that. It's at 19 minutes and 47 seconds. But yeah, this kind of goes over a little bit of the post-processing process of editing your long exposure photos in Lightroom. And from there, you just want to export them, put them all in a folder so that you can find them when you do open up Photoshop to do the photo stack. Give them a name. I just plain take off. You can sort of add in, yeah. It basically just adds or keeps them all in order so that you know which ones you've been working on. Don't resize them. Keep them at 100% quality. Because you can resize the final image in Photoshop if you want to crop it down a little bit. And from there, you just no watermarks, no nothing, and click export. It'll do its thing. And from here, we're going to open up Photoshop and show you how to stack them. So this is where the magic happens. This is super fast, super easy. I'm going to show you this. This is a sort of an automated process through Photoshop, but I'm going to show you later on how to do it manually. So you go to File, Scripts, Load Files into Stack. It'll bring up this little box here. You click Browse and find the images that you want, and you just select them all and click OK. Alright, and load all those images in there. Click OK, and what it'll do is it'll open up the images as a layer stack on the right hand side, and the one that's on the top is the one that's basically going to be the one that you see, but this is super simple, really, really easy. So you've got all your layers there, and all you really want to do is you can toggle the eye on and off if you want to see the images, but they're all there. So you just want to select them all, right, and go up into the blend mode drop down where it normally says normal, and you want to click on that, and you want to scroll down to lighten, and bam, done. There's your photo stack. From what I understand, Photoshop does, it basically keeps all of the same information from all of the images and just changes what is different amongst the images. Right, so it's really, really, really simple. And again, you can sort of toggle through the little eyeball there and see which layers do what. If you just want to do a photo stack with 2, you can do that. If you want to do a photo stack with 3, you can do that. But all the layers are there, and you can just kind of keep them all, or you can deselect the ones you don't want. But to change up the look of your image. But yeah, so easy, so simple. Select all your layers, change the blend mode to lighten, and away you go. And from there, you just want to save your image. I try to get into the habit of saving a high-quality JPEG. Just give it a name. I'll just call this one Takeoff, same like what I named the folder. Change the mode to JPEG. So that'll be a high-quality, high-resolution JPEG. Set it to maximum. And I'll get into the habit of saving your PSD file as well, just in case you want to come back and maybe take out a layer or something, or maybe add a title. I don't know, whatever you want to do to it. Yeah, you can give it the same name. Once you've named it, the name will be there in the drop-down menu, so you can just kind of either keep the name or change it to something different, whatever you want to do. And then just save it as a PSD file. That way it'll be your project file, your Photoshop file. So you can come back and do whatever you want to it afterwards. Just click OK. And we're going to close this one up, and we're going to take a look at that full-size image. And there we are. There it is. Saved. Yeah, it looks pretty good. Yeah, like I said, this has been one of my more popular and successful long exposure photo stacks as far as my online stock portfolios go. Yeah, it looks pretty good. I like it. And yeah, I mean, I think with the, yeah, oh, it looks good. I like the barbed wire there in the foreground, sort of bottom right corner there. Plane coming in for landing, a couple of cars going around the bend. Yeah, that looks good. All right, now we're going to show you how to do it manually. I did another image using, I think it was, yeah, 8 images. So just in case you don't do or you have a really old version of Photoshop, and you don't have that photo stack option, you can open up all your layers, right? And a little bit tricky, they'll all open up in sort of like the main bar up there at the top. So you kind of have to take one of them, drag them down. Make sure you're on your pointer clicker, and what you want to do is you just want to drag it over on top of the other one, right? And don't worry about alignment right now. I'm going to show you a couple ways to do that. You can try aligning it and just close the one that you just dragged over. So now you've got 2 images in your layer. So we're going to start with that one. So now we've got that sort of as our alignment layer. And drag that one down so that you kind of release it from the whole thing and kind of keep it separate. And then you take the other next one, you drag it down off to the side, make sure you're on your pointer clicker, and then you just drag that layer over. All right, move it over, close, same thing on the next one, drag it over, close that one, and repeat with all, oops, that one kind of fell into that one, make sure you separate it, drag it over, and we're going to close that one. Yeah, this is the long and tedious way of doing it, but it works the same way, just in case you don't have that automated photo stacking option in a newer version of Photoshop. So you're still using a super old version or something. You can still do this manually. And I think you can probably do this with other programs as well, but I've only used it with Photoshop. But this is the way we used to do it back in the olden days. All right, so you've got all your layers kind of dragged over into this main composition here. As you can see, you've got all your 8 layers there. They're all misaligned because we're going to align them now. And you can try to kind of eyeball it if you want. And obviously these grid marks here where it snaps into place, make sure snap is turned on so everything kind of fits where it's supposed to. And you can try doing that, but you're going to be like, oh, did I just work on this layer? Or am I working on a different layer? Which one am I working on? Didn't I just do this one? It's very confusing. So what you can do is, if you're sort of, oh, no, I'm still working on that one. No, yeah. Yeah, so I'm going to show you a little bit better way to do it. After you've struggled with not being able to work on different layers because you keep clicking the layer, but it keeps working the same layer. So what you can do is you can just take off all the eyeballs, so you're just working on the layer that you see. There's your background layer. There's the layer on top of it. It's nicely centered. You work on the next one, just uncheck the eyeballs and just move the layer that you're actually moving. And it will just make it a lot easier once you settle into that kind of routine. It's just easier. Just uncheck all the eyeballs and move the layer that you're wanting to move, and it will go to where you want it to go. Super simple. But again, a little more tedious than the automated way to do it in the newer versions of Photoshop. All right, so we have all the layers aligned where they're supposed to be. Uncheck that so you can work on that. And again, select all of your layers. And the process is exactly the same. You just select all your layers and change that blend mode to lighten. And there you go. Done. Problem with this image is I'm going to make a couple of changes because I don't like that image. I think it was a helicopter that was going off to the left there. And it kind of doesn't really fit into the whole thing. So you kind of like, oh, which one was it? You can turn the eyeballs off and on to find out which is the culprit that you want to get rid of. That one. That one. All right. So we're going to just eliminate that layer. Don't really want that one in there because it just kind of detracts from the whole thing. But then there's also those two horizontal streaks that are coming through. I think I want to just get rid of those. I'm not going to get rid of the layer though, or deselect the layer. I'm just going to use the healing brush and just sort of take away the that horizontal line there. I don't know what that was from. Maybe it was a plane off in the distance or something. Anyway, so what you want to do, sort of zoom in so that you can get enough detail of what you're working on. And we're going to go to the healing brush. And we're going to find the layer that is on. And we're just going to click on an area that is near and just drag it over. And as you can see, it's just kind of following where that plus is and filling in the image with what it sees above it. I love the healing brush. It's so great. You get rid of this one too. I don't really like that one. Which layer is that though? It is that one. All right, so you want to select the layer that you're going to work on. Same thing, click on an area near it and just drag across and it will fill in that spot with the information right above it. Looks pretty good. It was a dark night, so it's not really going to be required too much touch up beyond there. Do I want to get rid of that? No, I'll keep that in there. As you can see, the top right there, I think that was like a satellite or something going across. Very faint. But anyway, so there you go. Looks like a airplane fountain of lights taking off. It's kind of cool. There's a car going by in the front there too, which kind of adds to it. But yeah, that one's kind of neat. But yeah, that's a good example of how to do it the old school manual way. I definitely prefer the new modern way of doing it. But if you do get into a pinch, or if your Photoshop does not have that feature, then you can still do it manually. So there's a couple of different ways of showing you how to do a photo stack. And you can do the same thing if you have star trails or traffic or anything. It's the same process. You basically just import your images and you change that blend mode to lighten after you've selected all the layers, and away you go. And let's take a look at that image that we've got as a finished product there. And find where we put it. And again, save it as a PSD file in case you ever want to go back and work on it again. But yeah, there you go. It's kind of cool. It's fun to do. Again, you can do it with traffic, you can do it with stars, you can do it with airplanes. I love doing it with airplanes because it's a little different. I haven't really seen too many other people doing it. Yeah, star trails are another good one. Find where that North Star is and point your camera towards it, and away you go. I think this one was maybe like 80 pictures at 30 seconds. But anyway, yeah, there you go. Have fun with that little technique, and we'll see you again next time.